And we're live. Hello, my name is Cindy. Thank you for coming to this video. This is the third video about the New Hampshire Library Trustee Manual. And I have a meeting tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the duties of the trustees in the libraries in New Hampshire. And I'm just kind of going through the book for my own study, and I figured I'd make some videos to highlight some of the things in this book. Right now, we're going to talk about managing the library. Okay, so the first thing we need is the bylaws. And I'm laughing because I was a trustee for a few months, and one of the citizens in town told us, where are your bylaws? And they looked everywhere for them and couldn't find them. So we had to make up some new bylaws, and so they are in place now. We should go back and reread them. It's been a while. But it says here, the library trustees of every public library in the state shall adopt bylaws, rules, and regulations for its own transaction of business and for the government of the library. This is RSA 202A 11I. Bylaws are the internal rules that establish board structure, organization, operational procedure. Typical bylaws include the election and terms of board office, duties, established committees and their appointment procedures, number of designated signatories, and their appointment, trustee, director responsibilities. Regular meetings open to the public, method for calling special meetings, what constitutes a quorum, procedures for conducting the meeting, designation of responsibilities, limitations of authority, provision for making amendments, and any other area the board feels should be included. So bylaws are very important, and that should be the first thing that we look for. And I was kind of embarrassed that I didn't know that we didn't have them, because it's right here in the handbook that we need to have bylaws. These bylaws should be available to the public, and they should be reviewed on a regular basis to keep current with changing needs and environment. Bylaws cannot override or contradict existing laws. NHLTA recommends that bylaws be reviewed by an attorney to ensure compliance with existing laws. Samples of the library bylaws can be found on the NHLTA website. So we should have policy. First of all, we need to have the bylaws put together so people can read them. They need to be available to the public. We also need policies. Now, we do have policies in a book, and those policies have like a date at the end, and you can also, we're supposed to review them as trustees regularly. And we also have them online now, which is nice. You can just go to the website of our town, and you can click on the library, and you can find all of these things like the bylaws and the policies. So one of the primary responsibilities of all boards of trustees is to establish policies which cover all facets of library service and operation. These include the hours, the fines, the fees, the use of the building, all material equipment, collection development, personnel management, protection of staff and patrons, library financial management. All policies should be reviewed and updated on a regular basis to ensure that they cover changes in technology and laws and regulations. Social environments also change, and you may need to formulate policies for new situations. For example, one library had to establish a policy on unintended children. Another had to establish a policy on the use of credit cards. Policies encompass the biggest part of any issue. They derive from your objectives. They are based upon the management decisions, unlike procedures, which are steps to be taken, and rules which require specific action in specific situations. Policies must be equitable, non-discriminatory, clear, consistent with other library policies regarding the same subject. Some questions might consider when developing a policy are: what is the desired behavior result? Have we protected the staff in the library? Can we sustain it? Does it treat everyone fairly and equally? Does it serve the mission of the library? Is it legal? Policies should be reviewed by an attorney to ensure compliance with existing laws. 4 tests of legally enforceable policy are: it must comply with current statutes and court cases. All penalties must be reasonable. clear and consistent with other policies. It must be applied without discrimination. So all of these things need to be written down, and they need to be part of the library policies, and they need to be part of, something that you know about, so you can make sure that you don't violate them, right? So I have a friend here. Hello, Kathleen. Thank you so much for coming. We're talking about the library, and I'm just working through the library trustee manual because I'm going to be working on some things tomorrow. We're actually, as a board, going to go over this in a whole meeting. And so we were told to read through the manual, do some highlighting, and so we can spend some time going over it, but not too much time, right? So then we have personnel policies. Every library should have library-specific personnel policies that are available to the public and include position, classification, conditions of work, benefits, including all leave, vacation policies, and employment practices, personnel actions, including check distribution, discipline, and grievance procedures. If a governing board of trustees votes to accept the municipality's policies, the board should review them carefully. So we do have quite a few policies that are, that we do that are part of the town as well. But we have our own policies because some of the things we do have nothing to do with what the town is doing. So NHLTA recommends that all personnel policies be reviewed by an attorney to ensure compliance in state and federal employment laws. Okay, and that should be done regularly too, because you know what? The laws change, as we have learned. So then we have the library staff. First thing we're going to do is we're going to hire a director. The librarian should be appointed by the Board of Library Trustees for a term of office, agreed to at the time of employment until a successor is appointed and qualified. Okay, so a term of office, I guess that would be agreed on by the trustees. And, we're in the process of having to make up a new contract. We'll see how that goes. We need to update the director's job description, appoint a search committee, determine the required and preferred qualifications for the position, write and post a job advertisement, screen applicants, interview candidates, select finalists for consideration by the full board, check references, offer the position, and get ready for the new leadership. So that would be if you're going to hire somebody new for the director position. The trustees will only hire the director, and then the director is the one who hires the rest of the staff. In our library, we have staff that have been there for years. So we've had a few people hired into the library, but they haven't really stayed. So the ones that we have right now have been there for quite a while. We are fortunate in that regard because they are faithful workers in the library, and so they are reliable. So that's a blessing. But in the case of, the trustees, their job is to hire the director, not to hire everybody in the library. So important to make sure that that director is somebody that you want, because they're going to affect everyone else in the library. And then it says here that it would be in the contract, it should be for a term of office, like, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, something like that. So when their time runs out, you can either renew their contract or you can kind of call it a day. And so that's how that works. So those are very important items on here. It says here, so we're going to be working on that as far as, what is the qualification of a director? And these are some of the things that are in the manual to look for. What is and what should be the role of the library in the community? Has the community changed? Does the library reflect that change? Do we like what we've done in the past? What will our community be in 5 years or 10 years? What type of library director do we need to move us forward and fulfill our goals? So all those things that we would think about if we were going to hire someone new. So it's a big job. And previously to the director we have now, the directors have been there for like 20 years. Our library is old, and the people that have been in charge have stayed there a very long time. So when you hire someone, it's usually going to be for a very long time, unless, they move or something happens. So there's a whole section here on recruiting and interviewing, job descriptions, performance review, and dismissal of the director. And I'm not going to read all about that right now. I'm going to read that to myself later. But, we have a director right now, and it's a very important position. It is, going to affect your entire library, and it's also going to affect the entire community. So it's a very, very important situation. And the next section here says staff retention. So we do want to ensure that the staff receives compensation commensurate with their expertise and experience. So of course we want to pay them enough so they want to stay. We provide salary and benefits for them. We encourage ongoing training and show appreciation. That's something I haven't really done. I've been so caught up with, my job that I haven't really reached out too much to the staff. And I know that they've been going through a lot because in our library, we've had a lot of changes. So that's a note that I need to make for myself to show appreciation to our staff. The next thing we have on here is the annual report. That's something that we've been working on for 2024. Actually, it is now July 2025. I hate to say it, but we've had some issues with it, and just reviewing what we're going to be working on our 2025 report. And I don't want this one to be as bad as the last one. So I do want to make sure I cover all these. We need to have annual reports that will include all receipts or revenue, and from whatever source they are, all expenditures, all property in the trustee's care and custody, statement and explanation of any unexpended money, any bequests or donations held on behalf of the town, total number of books and other materials, the number of books and other materials added by gift, purchase, otherwise, the number of books and other materials lost or withdrawn, the number of borrowers, statement of the use of the property of the library in furthering the educational requirement of the municipality, other information and suggestions as may seem desirable. Submit a similar report to the state librarian. So we have to report to our town and to the state librarian. Some trustee boards submit one report, others submit 3 separate reports. For example, the board treasurer could report 1 through 5, the library director could do 6 through 9, the board chair could do 10 and 11. Whatever method is used, the annual report is required of all library trustee boards. Also, we have a tax ID number. This has been a little bit of a problem as well recently. It's recommended that libraries use their respective municipalities' number. The IRS classifies entities according to their taxable status: government, nonprofit, for-profit, trust, estates. When a tax ID number is issued, the IRS places the entity receiving the EIN into one of the predetermined categories. The town is a governmental entity. The EIN number are classified by the IRS. The library is a division of the town and should be used the town's EIN number for that reason. If, however, the library applies for and receives its own EIN number, the taxable nature of the library may be called into question. The library is not a separate 501c3 nonprofit organization. The EIN issued to the library is not classified by the IRS as a government entity. We had a little bit of problem with that this last few months. I'm not sure why, because nothing has changed. So I need to look into that as well. So check the tax IRS EIN number. The library is non-taxable. It is therefore advisable for the library to use the town's EIN. That's interesting. Okay, and then area library cooperatives. The NHLTA recommends encouraging a library director to join the area co-op. It is an excellent source for networking and sharing ideas, knowledge, and information. Then, if there's an abuse of office, and as elected public officials, trustees are subject to RSA 643, abuse of office, exceeding this authority legally given to trustees. Excuse me, may subject trustees to personal liability. Trustees may be responsible for actions that they take or fail to take, including the failure to stop others acting in violation. It is advisable to consult an attorney prior to entering contracts, excluding those for maintenance and service, easement, or other legal documents. So, trustees do need to watch their back. You don't have a free license to do whatever you want. No compensation for trustees. Trustees do not get any compensation for service, and their gifts in our town, board members can receive up to like a $40 gift, and that's it. And it can't be that you're being given gifts or money or anything like that. Confidentiality for library users. Library records containing a name or other personal identifying information needs to be confidential. RSA 201. Certain provisions of federal law or state laws may necessitate the release of certain patron records. Complying with the law, trustees should be aware of any other federal statutes: the U.S. Patriot Act, Americans with Disabilities, smoking in places of public assembly, construction and inspection of public buildings, right to know, Rehabilitation Act, possession or dissemination of obscene matter, all state and federal laws dealing with employment, including sexual harassment laws and copyright law. So lots of information on that. So that is that. The next thing that we have to talk about is board meetings. Okay, so board meetings are meetings of, in our case, we have 3 board members. And like I said, that could change, every year we could have a new person. They work together to develop plans, review, adjust the budget, propose, revise, approve policies, hire, compensate, dismiss employees, consider, discuss, decide overall operations. The director reports issues, activities, maintenance, administrative operations, and recommends personnel and policies. So all of these things are talked about. All the board members are together. They have the same authority on the board, but in our board we have 3 people. So we have a chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. You will be successful at the meeting if every trustee receives the agenda, relevant information, sufficient time for study and review, has done homework for committee meetings and board meetings in order to make informed decisions, review the minutes carefully before they are approved of, participate in the discussion freely, has an opportunity to amend the agenda, respects the point of view of his or her colleagues, accept the decision of majority, and publicly supports those decisions. And if you have a conflict of interest, you are supposed to recuse yourself from the meeting. We also are subject to the RSA 91 right to know laws, where we have to make our meetings public. The meetings have to be they have to be announced 24 hours ahead of time. The minutes are supposed to be typed within 5 business days. The public is allowed to attend, and we can use recording devices because it is a public meeting. You cannot use a recording device during a non-public meeting, though. No votes in public session may be taken by secret ballot. A member of the public body may participate in meeting other than by attendance in person at the location of the meeting only when such attendance is not reasonably practical. Okay, so you can, like, say you're on vacation, you can go to a meeting by Zoom, and it says here you have to have a quorum of the public body physically present at the location. So that's important as well. Non-public sessions are limited and include different topics. You're talking about employees, or you're talking about things of a private nature. You can do that in private, non-public meetings. Board officers' duties. Board positions should be defined in the board's bylaws. Most boards have 3 offices, which I already mentioned. The chair, which is going to run the meetings, and they will present the agenda. The secretary, which is going to take the minutes, and the treasurer will be responsible for the oversight of the library funds. A person hired as a bookkeeper who is not a trustee has no authority over expenditures other than to pay approved bills and does not participate in the budget process. So we do have a bookkeeper. Generally, the chair is a second signatory along with the treasurer for all the library bank accounts. It's important to remember that the board function as a group and no one member has any power or authority over the other. And that is all I'm going to say in this video. So this is my trustee manual. I still have several pages left. We have the talk about the library team, trustees, staff, local government, school, and friends. And we have the local government working together with your library people. And we have also a section about the library organizations that are available in New Hampshire. Special challenges. Okay, there's special challenges. When I would say challenges are when citizens come and they talk about things that you have to address, opinions, maybe ways that they want us to, run the library, things like that. We also have to meet at the boards and present the budget, and that can be a little bit of a challenge. And making sure that everybody has a fair voice, that is also a little bit of a challenge. Technology is also a challenge, and all of the policies should be written out for the library for technology. And this page is very helpful. This page right here, it says every library should every library should have: mission statement, organizational chart, bylaws, emergency disaster plan, technology plan, risk management, building maintenance and renovation plan, furniture and equipment replacement plan, staff addition and salary plan, annual report, submitted to municipality, annual report to the New Hampshire State Library, annual report submitted to the New Hampshire Director of Charitable Trusts, procedures, manuals for circulation, interlibrary loan, etc., posting of state and federal employment laws, customer service plan, circulation and usage, statistics, and insurance. And then there's a list of personnel policies, job descriptions and classifications, performance review procedures, employee feedback mechanism, disciplinary procedures and actions, conditions of work, salary distributions, raises, schedules, supervisions. Benefits include leave and vacation, sexual harassment statement and action plan, jury and armed services duties. Background check of staff and volunteers, volunteer selection, appointment, and supervision. Library policies, technology use of materials, borrowing limits, fines and fees, unattended children, hours of library operation, requests for reconsideration of materials, collection, development, reference service, investment if trustees manage trust funds, use of the meeting room, use of bulletin boards and display areas, behavior in the library, acceptance and disposition of gifts, including materials. The Board of Trustees approve all policies and review them on a regular basis. And the next page is called the Library Bill of Rights. And that is something that you can look up, and I would suggest that you would read that. I might make another video just about that. And then there is a summary of everything in the handbook. This handbook is on the NHLTA website. This book also has a list of library RSAs, which are 202 RSAs, has some templates for meeting minutes and recommended list of policies. And this is a new thing, intellectual freedom. I might make a new video on the Library Bill of Rights and the intellectual freedom pages. So stay tuned. I think I'll make that next. Thank you for watching and look for the next video.